Today, we're structuring your eating plan for your GLP-1 weight loss journey. We're going to talk about what to avoid, what to include. We're going to go through some of the other things that people almost never talk about. So stay tuned. If you haven't yet subscribed to this series, do so. I've popped a QR code up here just in case you're watching on TV. This is a series on starting your GLP-1, and we're going to go through everything you need to know in order to get the best results on your GLP-1 weight loss journey. Okay, so I've structured this video into points. So as we go along, I'll go through each point and give you information. So the first point, best time to eat for weight loss. This is very, very simple. When you're hungry, that's the best time to eat. So I know that because of a certain advertising campaign to sell more food, there is this thing going around about breakfast is the most important meal of the day. This is an advertising campaign. It is not science. There is no most important meal of the day. The most important meal of the day is the one that you have when you actually feel physically hungry. If you think about people that have never, ever, ever had a weight problem, look at the way that they live their life. They eat when they're hungry. They stop when they're satisfied. They don't obsess over food, meal times, all that sort of stuff. I'm talking about people that are just naturally slim and healthy. Now, some people will say those people are genetically slim and they can't gain weight. And for a very, very, very tiny fraction of the population, that is probably true. But for the vast majority of people, if you start eating too many calories and you have blood sugars that are out of control, which raises your insulin levels, and you're eating too much processed food and all that sort of stuff, trust me, it doesn't matter what your genetics are like, you will gain weight. Some people might gain it a little bit slower, other people faster, but that is a recipe for weight gain. First thing that I want to say about how to structure your eating plan so that we're crystal clear, eat when you're hungry. If you do this one thing, it will change so much about your journey. Forget about all the advertising campaigns and how much you should be eating and, when you should be eating and the best time of day to eat. The best way to lose weight and to maintain weight over the long period of time for life is to start eating intuitively. Listen to your body. It is intelligent. It will tell you when it needs energy and nutrients if you just get in tune with how you're feeling and when you're hungry. The other thing too is the clock. It's actually a habitual behavior that a lot of us have where we eat by the clock. It's dinner time, so I'm going to eat, even though you're not really hungry. I do that myself. Like I have been in the habit where it's like, it's coming up to 5 or 6 o'clock in the afternoon. It's time to eat. But then when I check in with myself, it's like, well, actually, I only had lunch at 3 o'clock. I'm actually really not that hungry. And then sometimes I have never, ever, ever in my life eaten breakfast. Never. I'm talking like even when I was a kid, I never ate breakfast. And sometimes now, because I'm eating lunch quite late, I don't eat dinner because I'm not hungry. And then the following morning, I'm hungry. That's a new thing for me because it's never been like that my entire life. But it just goes to show that intuitive eating, when we're listening to our body, things can change. But if I listen to my body, I know I'm going to continue to lose weight. And as long as I'm feeding my body what it needs when I'm hungry, I'm going to stay healthy. And that is a safe, sustainable way to lose weight. Okay, next one. What to eat when you actually do feel hungry. All right, so if you've seen the last video that I did in this series, we touched on what you should be focusing on in the first week or two with your GLP-1. So now we're going to go a little bit deeper. And I do have other videos on this where there is a lot of information about nutrition. So I will link those in the description for you as well. This one is a very good video to start with after you've watched this video that we're doing now. So because your appetite is very limited, especially if you've just started your GLP-1, if you're in the first month, say, you probably have noticed that your appetite is much lower. So because of that, the main thing that you need to do now is focus on fiber and protein. So your protein needs to be animal proteins, and that's because animal proteins have all of the essential amino acids we need in order to run our body. So remember, proteins are not stored in the body. Every protein that we eat gets used for something. It might be having healthy eyes and eyesight. It might be building new neurons in your brain. It might be building more connective tissue. It might be building new blood vessels. things like that. So every single protein's used. And that's why it is so very important to get enough protein. So what's enough? Because everyone's different. Let's assume that you're not exercising and you're just right now focusing on changing your eating habits to get the best out of your GLP-1 journey. In that situation, you need at least 1 gram of protein per kilogram of body weight. Or if you're in America, that is 0.5 gram of protein per pound of body weight. That's the bare minimum you need. Once you start doing resistance training or you're doing high intensity workouts, you need to increase your protein because then you're going into muscle building territory. So you still need all the protein that you use to do everything else every day. And then you also need a little bit of extra protein to build new muscles. And this is a great idea. The sooner you can start that, the better, because that is the metabolism maintenance that you need. So just like our protein and our amino acids, micronutrients are of utmost importance. Your body will not work without micronutrients. We have trace minerals. We have minerals that we need in larger amounts, and then we also have vitamins that we need in larger amounts. So your vitamins are split into fat-soluble vitamins and water-soluble vitamins. Your water-soluble vitamins are B vitamins and vitamin C. They're water-soluble. And then your fat-soluble vitamins are A, D, E, and K. A, you cannot go too high because if you have too much vitamin A, you will get a toxicity, and we don't want that. Don't overdo your B6 because you can get a toxicity to that as well. So I would suggest if you're going to take supplements, stick with a simple multivitamin and mineral supplement. So you don't want massive doses. Because if you're taking 5 different supplements and all of them have vitamin B6, for example, it won't be long before you're starting to get a toxicity to B6, which is very dangerous. It actually causes nerve damage. And you don't want nerve damage. Like when you think about what our nerves are our brain, our central nervous system, and the reason we can move, right? If you're getting vitamins, just focus on basic. You want omega-3s, you want vitamin C, very important, and you want a good multivitamin and mineral. That's about it. The other thing I want to say about your eating plan is to make sure you're eating real food. Packaged foods are great for convenience and all that sort of stuff. But remember, there is a lot of ingredients in those foods that may not even be listed on the label. I actually worked for a very large food manufacturing company for a very short period of time, a long time ago in my career. And because in that job, I went from quality to reg affairs, I actually got to have a little sneak peek behind the curtain of what goes into our foods. And I can tell you, most foods, even if they look like they're pretty basic, are a chemical cocktail of ingredients. And depending on what country you're in, every country has their own laws. In Australia, we actually don't need to list anything that's over 2% of the raw ingredients. So when you think about a food manufacturer, they've got 4 ton as their raw ingredients, 2% of that is actually quite a lot. So, and that's for each ingredient. And then you've got all of these ingredients that don't reach 2% and they don't have to go on the label. And we wonder why everyone's getting sick, right? So stick with real natural food. So you want things that are as close to nature as possible. And trust me, after a few weeks, your taste buds will actually adjust once you come off all the chemicals because they are addictive. They're in there for a reason. They're either in there to make it taste better, to get you addicted, or they're there for shelf stability. And real food wasn't designed to be shelf stable. It goes off. So once you get off all of those chemicals, you'll actually find that your taste buds completely change and your body starts to get in tune with real food and you will start craving things like cucumbers and lettuce and stuff like that. That's one of the main things I would encourage you to do right from the very start. If you want a guide on exactly what to eat, go and grab my free GLP-1 checklist. It's actually more of an ebook. But that is a great starter. And then if you want more in-depth information and exact nutrients to aim for every day and a menu plan that is optimized to give you all of the micronutrients that you need, I have another ebook bundle, which you can purchase. There's 3 ebooks in that. It's got everything in there to guide you towards the best nutrition for a GLP-1. So the QR code is here if you're watching on TV. you can scan that and it will take you directly to the free download. All right, let's talk about vegetables. You need to get vegetables in every single meal, especially while you've got low appetite and you're not eating as much as you used to. We can't go low appetite and continue eating Mars bars and all the rest, right? We need to focus every single mouthful on getting the best nutrition so that our weight loss is sustainable, so that you're not hitting weight plateaus, so that you're not getting nutrient deficiencies and making yourself sick down the track. When it comes to vegetables, I don't actually restrict any vegetables because they all have value, but there are some vegetables that are lower in carbohydrates, and while we're on a GLP-1, they are probably better to focus on. I'm not saying don't eat potatoes. That's not what I'm saying. Maybe don't eat potato chips, but if you want to have like a baked potato or something, go for it. It's full of nutrients, full of fiber. It's great for your microbiome. Nothing wrong with it. But salad vegetables have much lower carbohydrates. They have a much higher proportion of fiber. So things like lettuce and cucumber and celery and tomatoes. And of course, you need to spice up your foods to make them really tasty, because if you're coming off all the chemicals from processed food, you're going to have like a little bit of an adjustment period. You'll sort of feel like, and this is partly from the GLP-1 as well, but for a little period there, like maybe a week or two, you might feel like, oh my God, like nothing tastes good. And that's just because you've drastically cut out the chemicals. And so your taste buds and your brain are getting used to the new flavors again. Start experimenting with different herbs, because herbs give you so much flavor. Vegetables and herbs are full of flavor. And after a while, like I said, you will actually start to crave them. When it comes to fruits, and vegetables actually, you want to stay away from canned, because they often add things like sugar and shelf stabilizers and stuff in there. But you can get frozen, because frozen are usually just the whole fruit and vegetable that are snap frozen. And obviously fresh is always best. I will admit, because I buy the vegetables and the fruits, I normally buy frozen because I know it's got no additives. It's just the whole fruit and veg, but I don't want my food to go off because I don't use it fast enough. And so in the past, I've noticed I waste a lot of money on fresh fruit and veg just because I can't get through it all. That way I can keep my berries in the freezer for 6 weeks and it doesn't matter. They're not off. Yogurt is very beneficial. Make sure that you're choosing a yogurt that is a proper yogurt made with probiotics. You want a fermented pot set yogurt that is not loaded with extra sugar. It's really good for your gut. It gives you the probiotics that you need. It's high in protein, high in fat. You don't need to get a low fat one. Fat is actually your friend while you're on a GLP-1. It will help to stabilize your blood sugars. It will keep you feeling full. It increases your own natural GLP-1 hormones. Next one is avoid snacking and switch to having meals. So if you're starving hungry and you're out somewhere and your next meal isn't for a while, of course, grab something to snack on. Try and make it real food. But if you're just snacking out of habit, if you're a stress eater or a boredom eater or whatever it might be, firstly, go and check out my video on food noise. That takes you through a whole series of why we do these things. It's my experience, what I've noticed in clinic, and also the science behind why we eat when we're not hungry. But basically, what I want you to do is to avoid snacking and focus on having a meal. So if you're eating a good, proper, stick to the sides, wholesome meal based around protein and vegetables and nuts and seeds, if you're doing that a couple of times a day, you'll find you won't need to snack. You'll be full for a very long period of time. Your energy levels will be nice and stable. Your blood glucose levels will be nice and stable. And you'll find that the weight starts to come off a lot easier as well. The next question I had was, do you need to track calories or count macros? Oh, I know this is so controversial, right? This is what I would say. Think long term. I don't track anything purely because I don't find it helpful. Having said that, when I lost my weight the last time, which was 22 years ago now, I lost 41 kilos, which is around about 90 pounds. When I did that weight loss journey, I did count calories. For me personally, it was good in the way that it helped me to discover foods that were very high in calories and which foods were very low in calories. So if you feel like you want to track for the first couple of weeks, just to get an idea of what it is that you're eating and how it's affecting your weight, or if you want to make sure that you're getting enough protein and that sort of thing, then tracking in the very beginning it's great because you will learn a lot if you do it properly. But long term, I would say it's probably not very beneficial, only because it keeps us stuck in the diet mentality. It makes us obsess over food. And going back to these naturally thin people that we see, you don't see them tracking. Like my ex-husband was naturally thin, right? Sure, he could gain weight because he had a lot of sugar, but as soon as he cut out sugar, the weight would fall off again. But I noticed with him, he never ever cared about what he was eating. His focus was, I'm going to have a meal. I want something tasty. I want something that is food. And that's it. After that, he didn't think about food until it was the next time he was going to have a meal that was food that was tasty, right? That's what we want to get to. We want to get to being able to live our life without being absolutely focused and obsessed with food and what we're eating and what we're not eating and being good and being bad and all this stuff. So the short answer is no, I don't think you need to track anything. I think you need to eat intuitively because that is the best way to have long-term weight loss. While you wait for the next video in this series, check out the food noise video because that will really help you to distinguish when you're eating when you don't need to. You'll probably have a couple of little moments in there where you realize like, oh my God, yes, I do that too. And also check out the Start Doing This video. That has got a lot of information about nutrition and how to structure your eating plan as well. And I will see you in one of these videos until we have the next video in this series.
Smarter Nut Nutrition, DLP done well.